Welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. This is a show where we aim to educate, inspire and entertain through real life stories and interviews from people in the Scottish property community.
As always, thanks for listening and give us a follow on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to join us at our monthly networking events on the first Wednesday of every month. Tickets are available on our website. So without further ado, we'll just cut straight into this week's podcast.
Welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. Cameron Colquhoun, how are you?
Very well, thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Cammy, good to see you.
Yeah.
Makes a change from seeing your bare arse cheeks on social media.
I did wonder if that was coming up.
Sorry, mate.
You're going to have to explain to the listeners what that's about now.
But just for clarity, it was one picture to make it sound like it's every day, as if I've got an OnlyFans or something.
You like it. You're in your hill climbing, aren't you? And
I am, yes. So
you like to take a wee selfie of your arse cheeks at the top.
one time. So said picture, was at the top of Buccleuch Moor in Glencoe. Not gonna lie, probably one of the most engaged posts that I've ever had. So
that's how you go viral.
We need to get it out more often.
Next remembering your arse.
Fine set of cheeks you've got there, young man.
So when we do our Murnau and during the festive piece, we're all going to get our arse out for Instagram.
I'm up for it.
I look forward to seeing that. Look forward to see your ginger hairy arse.
A fellow ginger here as well.
I know, I'm outnumbered here.
Let's give the listeners a wee bit of background on you, mate. Your journey. Where before property, what inspired you to get involved in property?
So I believe 2018, Nick, was when we first met.
Yes, we go back a long way.
Yes. So I started working as a personal trainer in a new Pure gym in the south side of Glasgow. So before we actually officially opened, Nick came in for a tour, which just happened to be me.
A freebie.
So yeah. So I think it was at LinkedIn or something we connected on. I think you introduced yourself. You were maybe still doing the photography for.
Yeah, I think I was just transitioning there.
So couldn't have been more than a couple of years after that the podcast started, I think. 2020 roughly. So Darren Green, who I know you've had on and you both know well, he plays on my basketball team. So one of my friends was Darren and Jill's neighbour, who introduced me to them. So Darren came along, started playing basketball. Myself and my brother Callum did a bit of kind of mentoring with Jill as well.
Right.
And then I did some more kind of, not necessarily property related, but some coaching with Darren. And yeah, that's how I know them as such, which more kind of steered us towards it. Was Jill really steered us towards the property stuff.
Brilliant.
Started listening to the podcast, read a few books, just kind of got that hunger. We first, let me think, date-wise, end of 2020, my brother and I decided we'd buy a house together that needs a bit of work. We had the money saved up, spend a bit of money on it while living in it, sell it, go our separate ways and get our first buy-to-let with the change. That was the dream anyway. Instead, we did do that, our parents then gave us some money, which we weren't necessarily expecting, certainly not relying on. So my brother and I had saved up enough money for the purchase and the renovation, so we used the money they gave us to get our first service accommodation, which was in Leith. So that was January 2021. That was a boy, Vinny, who we used to play basketball against in the league, but with in the Scotland team. So he sourced it for us, set it up, rent to rent. Not the best timing because we were in and out of lockdowns at the time.
It's still quite a challenging market.
It still cash flowed every month. But yeah, it was up and down. So we decided that lasted 10 months, I think, and then we pulled the plug on it. However, 6 weeks after signing that one, we'd paid another sourcing fee to Vinny for another one, which was in New Street in the old town of Edinburgh. So the landlord, another rent to rent, the landlord decided pretty last minute that we weren't going ahead. Still don't really know why. But we were adamant that we wanted another. So it actually worked out well, and we got one on Upper Bow, which is as close as you can get to the castle, effectively.
Nice.
So that was good. That was totally hands-off, outsourced to management. We get paid every month, so it was pretty easy. Not without the odd speed bump, but it was good overall. We pretty much, we used the money actually from the business account to do your workshop, Stephen. I'm giving you a wee plug there.
Plus expense.
Yeah.
That was the worst money you've ever spent, wasn't it?
Well, that was the one you were there, Nick, so I was witness to the one time you've been to a workshop.
I got caught. I was caught red-handed here. Listen, mate, you're going at 1,000,000 miles an hour here. I think we need to kind of break down this journey, don't we?
There's a lot.
You've got a lot to unpack here, and you're only on page 3 of 100.
Notes,
so let's
prepared these structures. The rent-to-rent model. What giving you what gave you that kind of direction on the strategy for rent to rent? You want more cash flow without the huge capital expense, or?
Yes, but I think service accommodation, increased cash flow, but a lower entry point.
Right.
So Vinny, like I said, who sourced it for us, he'd been posting stuff about like returns for like X, Y, and Z occupancy rates. So reached out to him a few times. And just I had a few good conversations with him and thought, let's go for it. So we paid $3,500 sourcing fee for the first one, £500 management fee set up, maybe a few hundred on some soft furnishings. First month's rent deposit up front, and then it was good to go. Pretty much started making money straight away, to be honest. And then, like I said, within about 6 weeks, we'd paid. He knocked £500 off the next sourcing fee, so that was 3,000. Another 500 management set up, maybe another couple of £100 soft furnishings, and then that was the one, like I said, fell through from the landlord. So we'd said to Vinny, he had other ones available, but because that one was in the old town, we're like, nah, we were pretty adamant that's where we wanted to be. And he was like, well, I've got a few more viewings to do. Give me a couple of weeks and we'll figure it out. So, like I said, probably worked in our favour. We got the one on Upper Bow, which I always forget the name of the street, but it's where all the multicoloured buildings are off the Grass Market. So it's effectively above that where you've got the wee hidden staircase. So
it's a great location, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I always said to my brother, probably right up there with as good as it gets in this country.
It has to be, aye.
Yeah. So I know grunters is the hot word at the moment.
Aye,
so,
Chris Dale's word.
So
I know we've adopted
a bit of a grunter. It's a small.
You don't get grunters in Edinburgh, do you?
Very small.
There's no grunters in Edinburgh.
Flat, but I'm probably worth a few quid because of the location.
Exactly.
But like, there's no storage or anything, so it's ideal for a service accommodation. But I certainly wouldn't like to live there. No parking for a start.
Yeah.
But
did you know Edinburgh before you started looking for serviced apartments in there? No, did you? So obviously where are you from originally?
South side of Glasgow. Grew up in Newton Mills. Aye.
So Edinburgh was that some? Obviously you knew being centre Old Town that was going to be good for.
Yeah, so I think we maybe, or certainly I did, I can't speak for my brother, thought that service accommodation was just people on holiday, couples going for long weekends. And then you hear about guys that have been on the podcast in the past who've got ones in Motherwell, not far from here, and you're thinking there's no way that's making money or getting bookings.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is contractors. My brother works offshore in the wind industry, so we're actively looking for units up near kind of Dundee way. Because there's big projects kicking off up there, and we know the demand's there.
Yeah.
So it was more probably just because that's what was available at the time. We hadn't even looked in Glasgow, but the people we were speaking to were focused in Edinburgh. And I think, personally, I would always say to foreign people that are asking about Scotland, I always say if you want to take pictures, go to Edinburgh, but if you want something to do, go to Glasgow.
Yeah.
Glasgow's bigger, there's more choice. But
people are friendlier as well in Glasgow, do you know what I mean?
Certain parts, yeah.
Let me just sort of ask you a few questions about. You're going into this rent to rent serviced accommodation stuff, and numbers look amazing. You've paid a sourcer. He's obviously presented to you projections and stuff like that. How does it look when you fast forward? 12 months on, you've actually got, because quite often it can be a bit up and down in the in the short term sector.
Yeah.
Looking back now, how long have you had the first one?
The first one in Leith, we terminated the lease after 10 months just because it was getting to the stage where it was cash flowing a couple of £100 a month, and we
interesting because it's quite often sold as like
so again, I think for the
month,
context, the timing of us being in and out of lockdown, and at certain points we could travel, but most people maybe weren't confident booking trips.
Right, okay. So that was during that
my guess is because we weren't city centre Edinburgh and the volume of tourism had dropped drastically, we were trying to compete with the stock that was in the city centre.
Okay.
I think the tram line goes to Tower Place now, but I don't think it did at the time. So we just took the decision, no regrets to be fair, because what we didn't want was for it to eat into the profits of the Royal Mile one.
Right.
So that was probably averaging, we had that until October the 1st this year. We do actually still have the keys at the moment, but we need to hand them back on this Friday, the 1st of December coming up. So it probably averages 9-10 months of the year, 1,100-1,200 quid profit.
Right. And why you haven't had the key? That sounds amazing. Why you haven't had the keys back?
because of the licensing that our politicians and councillors have decided to implement. So kind of we could have done the whole certificate of lawfulness, apply for the planning permission. The landlord was quite reluctant to go down that route. So I don't know if they've got a plan B. For it? No.
Or do you?
But they were quite reluctant to give us the information that we needed to apply for it.
Right, got you.
So we thought...
it's a shame that, isn't it?
It's
a real life...
I've seen on your Instagram.
It's such a good location, it's a big hit to take.
You had a wee tear in your eye that day, didn't you? Because I've seen your videos. It's emotional.
Because when did you get that one? A year ago? A year and a bit ago?
No, that was... I think we first listed it maybe June 2021.
Right.
So a good year and a half out of it.
It's annoying though, because to pay the sourcing fee, you get the setup, get the flat going, to make that kind of profit. If you were making, if you used it for 10 years, you'd be like, oh great, we've had our fill of it. But the fact they've changed it so early on, a year and a half, 2 years in, you're like, fucking hell, I didn't get it. Okay.
I think naturally January, February are quieter in the short term late market, but like the Fringe Festival, so the Fringe Festival, for example, we weren't in control of the nightly rates or anything. Management company set that. We trusted them, never really asked any questions. They take their 20% cut, which is a fair chunk to be fair, but we never had any issues. And even once they've taken our 20%, last August, for example, I think we almost hit $5,000 profit, something like that. So I remember looking at the nightly rate and thinking, I wouldn't fucking pay that. And my brother's like, but people will, and it's fully booked.
So you're guaranteed to pay the rent from the contract, the rent to the owners.
Yep.
So is it a reduced market rent?
It was a one bed flat, right. $850 a month.
Right. And are you then responsible for minor maintenance on the contract?
No.
The landlord's still responsible for the maintenance?
I'm sure we spoke recently about the issue with there was a leak in the flat above and the shower ceiling collapsed. So we have been going a wee bit back and forth with the letting agent about that. It is now resolved, but we obviously can't take any bookings anyway because it's after the cut off and we don't have the licence. So a bit of a sour end. But overall we made a good whack on it. So no complaints.
And then so your overheads is really just your rent to the landlord, guaranteed rent to the landlord, your council tax, utilities,
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. So what are you in for? £1,100?
Just over, I think, closer to 1,200. And
then performance come January, February time, what does at least break even? Does it make some profit?
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't think there was ever a single month where we didn't make a profit. So
even the quieter months it's still breaking even just because that good location. And then obviously fast forward into Fringe time, you're talking about $5,000 profit in a month from something going on. So
I think that's certainly from my own observations, that's why Edinburgh's a stronger market for it.
Right.
Certainly the location we had. I'm sure there's many in Glasgow that perform as well, if not better, but I think purely based on the location is why ours done so well.
When did it become apparent to you, obviously, with this legislation, that because you're thinking this is bloody amazing, this, £1,000 a month, £1,100 a month, whatever. When did it sort of the penny drop and go, this is not going to continue? Is that a hard moment when you realise that?
I was always quite optimistic about it, thinking that I disagree. I can understand them wanting to enforce some sort of like regulations in the industry because there's a lot of people that are doing it there just for a bit of extra pocket money or whatever. So I get that. I don't disagree with that. But I think the blanket fit, the one size fits all, is just silly. Like there's people with glamping pods on their own private land in Glencoe that are getting hit with the same stuff. So they're trying to solve a problem, which I understand, but I think they're targeting the wrong people. So I was always quite optimistic that most people in the sector would leave the application until the very last minute, and that would force the politicians to either scrap the legislation, extend it, or it would kind of automatically be extended based on the processing times.
Basically, you're thinking somebody's going to see sense here and reverse it, basically. So you're holding on to the last minute. So you held, and then the 1st of October came and you're like...
a bit, oh shit, aye.
Right, okay.
Which was my birthday as well, so not the best birthday present.
I think it's a fair assumption that you would have thought so. That they would have seen.
I think a lot of people. Volume, I think a lot of people did. I thought myself, surely they're going to backtrack on this, just from the point of view that's just going to absolutely decimate the local economy.
They've not seen the effects of that, and that'll probably take a year or two before they might even reverse it or make tweaks. But like you say, you're stuck without. Legally can't operate, so There's nothing you can do.
So did you kind of see yourself, before all this happened, did you see yourself, yes, this is the strategy for us, we'll scale this up, we'll get some more?
So like I said, the main appeal was it was available at the time, the entry point was relatively low, and my brother and I had that extra cash that our parents gave us. The original dream was to use the cash flow to start purchasing buy-to-lets and hopefully do the BRRRR, however many there are. But again, that's still the long-term plan as such, but it's just a wee bit less appealing at the moment with the interest rates and the rent caps, etc. So, like I said, with the first house we did, we bought it, spent the money on it, lived in it for a bit. We then, while doing Stephen's workshop, we were appraising deals, found a flat in Thornton Hall, which is kind of sandwiched in between like Clarkston and East Kilbride. So we were still on the 2-year fix at 2.94%, I think, at the house in East Kilbride. So we ported the mortgage over to this new flat. We had to put down an additional £24,000 deposit. We spent 32, I think, I've got it written down here. On it, yep. So we actually pitched it as an assisted sale at first to the estate agent to ask the sellers, but it was a family that was selling it to clear debt. It came unexpectedly back on the market because the previous sale had fallen through. So we managed to get it for 30,000 under home report.
Wow.
We'd said to the estate agent, Aris Property, if you know him, Richard Pitt. So we'd said, look, we've got this house in East Kilbride that's ready for the market. If you help us purchase this flat in Thornton Hall, we'll give you the house in East Kilbride to sell. Once the flat in Thornton Hall's done up, we'll give it back to you to sell. So he was on board and he just said, give me overnight to speak to the family. So they came back, said, if you give us £2,000 just now so that we know that you're serious and that helps them with the holding costs, they gave us 6 weeks to sell the house in East Kilbride, which we sold in 4, I believe. Accepted the second highest offer because they were first time buyers, no chain. So that was quite good. We made, what did we make? We bought that for 145. It was a pretty light refurb, to be fair. Kitchen and bathroom was relatively new, so we added parking, new roof, changed the layout slightly with like a walk-in cupboard, spent about 12k all in, sold it for 189. The new flat was purchase price 210. Like I said, we ported the mortgage over, we had the additional 24,000 deposit, 32 grand refurb. That is now done, it's on the market, going pretty slow, but the home report on that is 285. It's a residential mortgage, so I think we all know what that means. So yeah, wee bit cheeky, but yeah, all good. So we borrowed some investor money from a family member and a family friend. They're happy to reinvest this money once this flat is sold. So the mortgage is only 117 left to pay on it. So hypothetically, if we sell this flat for home report at 285, minus the mortgage, so 117 would leave us with £168,000.
Wow.
Good. And that is a couple of flips.
That is on a time scale of how long a period that you've managed to do
Less
that?
than 2 years.
Fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant. So obviously, it hinges on the sale. So come on, you got to get that sale through.
Yeah, so we've
Let's get that. How long has it been on the market?
4 months or so.
Come on, drop the price.
But
don't get so greedy with your profit, man. Get the price drop.
I went over and saw it a couple weeks ago. It's a cracking flat, cracking.
You've got a thing for swimming pools. Is this one with swimming pool?
Yeah, if anyone's got me on Instagram already, they'll be fed up seeing it. So there's a swimming pool, a jacuzzi, a gym, and a sauna. That's all for the residents.
Why is it not going?
The factors fees has been a kind of common theme that are putting people off.
Are you getting viewers through the door?
Oh yeah,
What's
so there's been another 4 listed recently in the same development, so that's actually brought more interest to the area. It's all with different estate agents, but we've got a few more viewings rolling in just now. It will sell, it's just a matter of time. The silver lining is, when we bought the flat, we didn't know this, but it used to be like a big estate house, so there's a caretaker's cottage on the grounds. We didn't know we owned 1/45 of it, so an equal share. The factors and the residents committee contacted us maybe 4 weeks after we completed on it to say that, look, we need you guys to agree or say yes or no to the sale of the cottage. So we were like, well, why would we say no? Go for it. Then got the confirmation that we would get an equal share of the proceeds. So it sold at a closing date for £405,000. So that's £9,000 per property.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure if there'll be some sort of tax in that, but obviously there will be some selling fees.
Right.
So
that's a cracking bonus, isn't it?
So that helps because the holding costs are quite high. Our 2-year fixed rate has ended and we're on the variable as well.
It's just
so
like empty at the moment.
To take, yeah. So
I
still go down every now and again and use the sauna and that, but
it's the most expensive house.
Yeah. What's the factors fees on it?
So it's meant to be £510 a quarter, which is not terrible considering the facilities.
A quarter, right? It's got a wee gym in that as well, is it?
The grounds are immaculate.
Well maintained. Like the grounds are ice.
A lot older folk live up there.
Yes, I think we brought the average age down a wee bit for sure. But that's why we were kind of hoping. There'd been 3 that had sold recently, within the last kind of 12 to 18 months when we bought it. All 2 beds. Ours is a ground flat, so it's slightly different. We've got the bigger balcony that's got direct access to the gardens, but one had sold 360, one for 320, one for 310. Right. So I maybe get a bit carried away. A couple of estate agents, the surveyor, and just other residents like, I'll sell 10-15 over home report, 10-15%. So I'm sitting saying to my brother, we could be getting 340 grand for this, like no bother.
Right.
One had sold at a closing date like the week before we listed ours. I don't know what for, but yeah, it's just been slow, the timing of all the consecutive interest rate hikes.
What do you see the kind of target market? Is it going to be downsizers, kind of older couple or something like that?
Yeah, we've had Glasgow Live posted about it, and we got a surge. We got a surge of viewings, but I think it was just people being nosy.
Mate, you need to get in that sauna with your bare ass cheeks, mate. Honestly, that'll send it viral. It'll be sold in 2 days.
Or I'll get arrested.
Get lifted and banned from that.
Comes with that. Right. Yeah.
As a cracking property, like I didn't realise.
Did you go up and visit?
Yeah, I went up and visited last weekend.
Right.
I was when you were up in Inverness.
Yeah, full refurb. Knocked down a wall. Brand new kitchen, big open space, both shower room, WC.
Nice.
Had to do
how much you spend on that?
Doors, 32 all in.
Right, it's a chunky refurb,
so full works.
It's nice, yeah.
But yeah,
location.
It was amazing. So hopefully that will sell. It's just a matter of when.
So is it just you think it's purely that it's sort of more timing than anything? You've not really done anything else wrong, have you? Like, there's no other lessons that can be learned.
The due diligence was there with the recent sales, speaking to neighbours, estate agents and surveyors. So it's just been bad timing. I think the fact that we've got such a big, like I said, if it sells for home report and we pay off the 117 or so mortgage, we've got 168 grand sitting there. 62 and a half of that is investors who are happy to reinvest. So we've got that breathing space. Like we spoke about this, Stephen. We could sell it 50 grand under home report and still make a good whack of money and move on to the next one.
You might well look at obviously drop the price.
We've reduced the price.
Have already. You really need a cash buyer, really, don't you?
That's what we were hoping for. It's quite a niche area. There's no wee shops or anything. It's all the houses are big multi-million-pound houses. So we were hoping that a lot of the people that maybe had big houses in the area or thought, well, downsize, cash buyer, and they know and like the area. And I think a lot of the residents know and like each other. There's a wee community newsletter and they do wee meetups and stuff.
In terms of flips moving forward, like after you sell that one, we still continue to do flips. Like
absolutely.
What do you think? Like, obviously, do you think you'll go back to just like kind of like now looking at that and how well the first one went? Are you thinking, well, just go back to what worked?
Possibly. So again, going back to when we did Stephen's workshop, my brother and I did it together. I'd never heard of an assisted sale, and my brother requested that I said this. He said he got a hard on when he heard what an assisted sale was.
That wasn't just from looking at Stephen.
No, that was my first thought. But, so we're pursuing that at the moment. We spoke before we started recording. So there's a woman. It's a place called Coodham, just next to Symington off the A77.
Right.
So it was one of. I was in a networking group, BNI, ended up personal training the president of the chapter, planned to climb, I did climb Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania this January, and I wanted to raise money for a charity, so Scott had introduced me to a woman, Phyllis, who runs a charity. She's from Giffnock in the south side of Glasgow, but started a charity in Tanzania. So her and her husband ended up personal training with me, and she's introduced me to this woman who we're doing the assisted sale with. So we've agreed £200,000 with her. We estimate the refurb to be about 30. My brother is in communication with Linda Martin to hopefully help come on board and at least design it and hopefully project manage it. And again, speaking to a couple of different estate agents down Ayrshire Way and surveyors, we reckon we can get 270, 280. But we also think that kind of sticking point, I think Mark Shanta mentioned it not too long ago in the podcast, you kind of 200, 250 up to 400 is maybe what's sticking at the moment.
But done stunning, but nice design flair.
Well, exactly. So that was why we thought we'll ask Linda, because she's obviously
we did the stats there for the market update. I mean, in Scotland, things are still positive and plus 2% over the last 12 months. There's no sign of any crash. I think obviously very micro,
down,
different areas, different types of properties are a bit slow, but things are still selling.
Certain things are flying. So I've been on the hunt for my own place, which again I'll buy somewhere that needs a bit of work in and around the south side of Glasgow. Anything sub 150 is
a flat.
I like the tenements. My girlfriend's got a
these
really
are still
nice
selling
tenement.
really well, aren't they?
My girlfriend's got a really nice tenement. She's converted from a 2 to a 3 bed. I like them. I love the cornicing, the ceiling roses, but they're all flying like 20% over home report still. So you're competing with the first time buyers, a lot of other investors. We did actually we put in an offer, put in loads, but we put in an offer at another house in East Kilbride at a closing date, but it was subject to the sale of this flat. The estate agent fed back that ours was the highest offer, but the seller was choosing to go with somebody else because there was no chain, which is fair enough. Can't argue with that, but you'd almost rather not know. So then I actually tried to use that to my advantage, viewed a few others in that area that were similarly priced and almost the exact same condition. So I was like, look, straight to the point. We've just had confirmation that our offer at one round the corner was the highest, but because we're in a chain, so they're saying, oh no, we want 10, 15, 20 grand more than that. I'm going, well, it's not worth than that, and that's not where we're at. But I think
you're putting quite a bit of time in still with the viewings and stuff like that.
I'm not going to give up, but I'm at the stage now. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I'm still actively doing viewings because I feel like it helps me. We're getting to the stage now, certain estate agents are going, oh yeah, they're remembering who I am, and they're saying, we've got one that's coming on in a couple of weeks, I'll send you. So that's definitely working. But it takes time. You need a bit of luck along the way, I think, as well.
Keep showing up and being present and being active and being there is going to give you opportunities. You're not going to get opportunities by sitting in your arse and hoping that it comes to you. Like we were talking to Craig Gallagher from Quinergy earlier today, and he was saying the same, showing up on social media and just putting yourself out there, just being in people's faces all the time. It's the same thing in business and doing viewings. And
100%. So we actually listed a new Airbnb last week. So
it's not a rent to rent?
Yes, so it's a boy, Stuart. My brother knows him from years and years ago. He was on the workshop at the same time as us, Stephen's workshop, and he's just moved to Dubai for work, reluctant to sell his house because he doesn't know if Dubai is forever or he just wants to keep it there, I think. So he approached my brother and said, would we be interested? So we've went down a similar route. We've used my brother's good friend Tomas. He's a very experienced host, so he is hosting it. It's in Kirknewton, which I'm not familiar with, but we've got the key. We're getting the keys, next week. And Quinergy, I believe, are actually coming in to sort out all the compliance. It's my brother that's arranged that, so he's good. He works offshore. He doesn't live in Glasgow when he's at home, but quite often he gets weather days at work, so he's just sitting texting me, firing me all this stuff. So I work full time, but.
So you're still a personal trainer still, are you?
Well, so I still do a bit of personal training, but I work as a duty manager in Nuffield.
Oh, do you?
As
right, okay.
So I enjoy it, to be fair, but it's not the long term plan.
Yeah,
I think.
God, that brings back memories now, man. That was Greens.
Yes,
Greens was one of my firsts.
Well, so no, actually, I'm the one round the corner. Ours used to be Virgin Active.
Oh yes, Virgin. I was in there for a while as well.
In Finniston that are a couple of 100 metres apart.
That's right. They're both Nutfield now, aren't they?
Yeah. So Greens, the old Greens is the one on Finniston Street.
Virgin Active.
A couple of streets away on Minerva Way.
Because I lived literally where Virgin Active, where you are now, just behind there, Minerva Way.
Minerva Way, yep. Cool.
So that was one of my flats I stayed in for ages when I had
small world,
when I had a life. And when
a wife.
Before the wife.
I feel like the timing of us getting into property, there's been so many obstacles, like the licensing, like the interest rates, the ADS. So that was the main reason for pursuing the assisted sales. So with this one, for example, We're hoping to get things started in January with the refurb. There's no 6 month rule. We don't have a deposit to put down. There's no ADS to pay. We can just start the refurb on day one and get it on the market as soon as possible. So we're almost thinking that's a good way to accelerate the growth of the business. And again, the long-term plan is probably still to do the buy-to-let, but I see more and more people moving into commercial and apart hotels, so you just don't know. Things
Sorry,
change.
what did you say about the new one, the new Airbnb one, the new short let? You still need to get the licence?
Yes,
Yes.
So you apply for that, but because it's not Edinburgh City Council, we're a lot more hopeful that we'll get it, basically.
Which
It's a detached house as well, isn't it?
It's what, sorry?
Detached house.
Yeah,
so.
detached house.
Which council is it?
Midlothian and Borders.
Right, okay.
Or Lothian and Borders, sorry, yeah.
Right.
So I believe they're pretty much giving away licences in Aberdeen as well.
Fife are really good with apparently giving away licences as well, so it's nice to hear that there's some councils that are being quite sensible.
There is some positive stories out there.
Well, I think the Highlands and Islands, like without it, they'll struggle. So it's within their best interest, isn't it?
Can you imagine the amount of camper vans?
Well, yeah, good point.
I mean, there's already, like, you go up there, because like I'm from Inverness, and you go up there in the summertime, and you go up NC 500. You did that, didn't you, as well? And it's just like chock-a-block with camper vans and that. And
911s. Get reported to the police.
Did you go on that trip? Did you?
No, that was another one. I had the original dates. I just happened to already be off on work annual leave that week. And I was like, bingo, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And I don't have a fancy car. But
I was going to say, mate, I wasn't even invited because of what I drive.
I wouldn't invite you because of what you drive. In all fairness, half the people that came in didn't have fancy cars. They came for the experience and the network and enjoyment.
Mostly nice cars, and then I saw John Morris.
John Morris
flying around the bend in his Clio.
John Morris running the sea at 8 o'clock at night, filled with a nice expensive rum he brought up. That was a great one.
So what I loved about that, right, was they cut out the people who didn't have the fancy motors, and then they cut out the people who didn't quite have the six packs. And you would have made it all right. Do you know what I mean? You would have been fine there, but they cut out the dad bods. Which is why you didn't make the final cut.
I was in the final cut, was I not? Myself and Barry Gray.
But that's a good point. So things like that is one of the main motivations for going into the property. Again, no rush to go full time. We've never taken a penny income from it. We've always just tried to reinvest everything. But working as a personal trainer for the past 6 years, I did get used to doing things on my own terms. So like that NC 500 trip, I wouldn't have to ask for annual leave or go, can I change my annual leave? I just go. So that's one thing I have struggled with. Started working in Nuffield 6 months ago. I just
think a lot of these gyms that you're in would open opportunities for personal trainers, like to work with, I suppose, clients that can afford a personal trainer regularly. You can build up relationships with people that potentially become investors or got money or can give you opportunities.
For the gym, you mean?
No, for property.
All right,
can almost tie in.
Yeah, for sure. I've met some great people through doing personal training because it's such a diverse bunch that you
Obviously,
get.
you met me at Pure Gym. Do you know what I mean? So that was I've come a long way since Pure Gym at Silverburn.
$9.99 a month for that.
You have as well, to be fair.
Yes.
You can't this Pure Gym, mate. It's got its place.
Yeah, it's pros and cons.
Yeah.
I always think your Pure Gyms, the gym, JD gyms, in terms of equipment available, they're good.
Right.
There's like everything's good. It's just more how busy they get. That was the biggest frustration. I know member experience point of view, that's a big frustration, but as a PT as well, most people want sessions 6-7 a.m, then 5-6-7 p.m. You're like, right, we'll go and use the leg extension. Leg extension's getting used. We'll jump on the leg press. Leg press is getting used.
It was the showers for me that broke me, and then, mate, honestly, mate, I just couldn't face those showers. I don't know if it was a bad cleaning team or something. Maybe you were cleaning them, I'm not sure.
Maybe.
But that's what made me switch to David Lloyd's.
Go up in the world.
Yeah, is it Annie's Land? Is your home gym?
Renfrew.
Is it Renfrew?
Right? Okay. But we used to be able to use the Root and Glen one, and then they changed it. So
I originally joined Hamilton because it was £50 a month cheaper for the Platinum.
Aye.
And the gym's better, to be fair. It's the best out of the Glasgow gyms.
Monthly cost for the Glasgow gyms. Like, how much are you paying for your one?
Pay about £250 a month,
Mate,
but that's a family.
I'm at the most expensive gym in Fife, and it's £53 a month Valentine's.
Bantines,
That's the only one there is. There's no David Lloyd's or Nutfield.
Like I say, I switched my home gym to David Lloyd Rook and Glen mainly for the outdoor jacuzzi. So I'm £108 a month, and that's a friends and family
the
discount.
networking that you can do in that jacuzzi, mate.
See, recently though, everybody, I feel like Julian's there, Lewis, Big John, see Gary Wilson there, Mark Shanta. So there's loads of people in and around that circle. Yeah,
it was quite funny actually because I was walking in the gym. I actually met one of your friends that was like, "Oh, listen to the podcast."
So it's Tomas that's managing the Kirk Newton Airbnb.
So it was quite funny the amount of people walking around that gym that are like, "You look familiar from social media, like for property." And I was like, "You were saying that."
Well, I'm banned from there now. They don't let me in there. They're scum of the earth down at Renfrew. The scumbags.
I'll get you in on a guest pass.
And you won't be back.
Tomas that we met, so he's managing the Airbnb in Kirk Newton. So he's been doing it 9 odd years, well over 1,000 good reviews. So he's classed as a super host.
Yeah.
So if you search the area, ours comes up first, although we've literally just listed it.
That's good.
He also, if you've maybe seen it on Instagram, recently opened a glamping site, and I think it's Port Patrick, called Curry Retreats.
Right.
So he's piled all his money into that.
Glamping, seems to be the rage.
Let's get Tomas on for an interview and talk about that strategy and how much
super host. Definitely.
How I'm assuming they have to go through the licensing applications as well for glamping pods.
I'm not 100% sure. I think he's leasing the land off a farmer,
right?
But I don't want to put words in his mouth for him. I obviously don't know, but I can get him on. That'd be good.
No, definitely, it's quite good as well. It's good you can leverage. You've mentioned it quite a bit as well. Like people in your network, people like Tomas you grew up with, and Darren Green playing basketball with, and the people like that. Is that an important part for you? People 100%. You're around, the people you're working with, people that you're at gyms you're talking about.
100%. There's a bit of a cheesy quote that I like to recycle, is to join a culture where your desired behaviour is a normal behaviour. So it's like, how are you going to learn from people if you're not surrounding yourself with people doing things that you want to be doing? So I'm a big advocate of that, and like push yourself out your comfort zone. It's not too many of my friends are interested in the property stuff, but maybe that'll change. But meet some amazing new friends through networking, being in the mastermind group. I haven't managed to get to one of the live podcast events. I'll use my excuse.
Mate. We've been going to over 2 years.
Do you know,
actually, the basketball nights, is it?
Basketball's a Wednesday night.
So it is.
Yeah.
That's why Darren's been a couple.
Aye. Because Darren's missed it a couple of times.
I think Jill has to call in extra help. For like half the kids, because Dan's at the same night at the basketball.
I'll make a point of coming to one.
I'll let you off.
So there'll be a break over Christmas for basketball. So
sorry, Nick wants to bump them at Christmas and New Year time as well. Guys, for listening to this, actually, the January networking event is going to be the 10th. That's the only time it won't be the first Wednesday.
Don't show up in the
third. Because I was outvoted by all the rest hosts saying that no one would go.
Who's going to want to turn up to a property networking event on 3rd of January, mate?
Fucking me, rarely go.
Still sitting about in my pants.
You're in your pants most days. So what's the future for yourself and your brother as well? Are you going to?
So I mean,
push this sale route?
I think so, yeah. So the one that we've got agreed at the moment is looking a good deal.
Yeah.
So it'll be all hands on deck for that to get it up and running. But I think ultimately long term still buy to let portfolio. I'd get a bit carried away thinking once we sell this flat we just go hard, buy a portfolio, because I know there's more and more coming on the market for sale. So I was like, if we buy the 6 or more, we avoid the ADS, then we've got the 4 or more to be classed as a landlord for lenders. And then if, like, worst case scenario, we can sell off 1 or 2 to get some of the money back out. Realise it's not as straightforward as that. You can't just go buying portfolios for your first purchase.
Why is that?
Unless you're Barry.
Why is that? Because Sam Dyer says it's straightforward.
It's possible.
But it's quite difficult with lenders, because most of them will want you to see that track record and show you that you're a portfolio landlord with 4 or more. But Barry Gray purchased a portfolio of 7, I think, on his first one.
Yeah, it's doable, but I think your options are very limited for lending. And you probably pay the price for it as well.
Premium for it.
See how you obviously keep referring back to the buy to let stuff and all that, which I'm kind of a little bit surprised by, because obviously you've been used to making this amazing cash flow, in the short term stuff, and then if you're going to buy to let, hanging about Stephen and all that, the cash flow figures are pretty shit, £200 a month and all the rest of it. I mean, okay, you're able to recycle your cash and get your money out and all the rest of it. you know, effectively, if you listen to the gurus, you can get property for free and all the rest of it.
Of course you can.
But it's to live off. If you're thinking about, you know, long term and income.
Yeah, maybe not so much the income, but just if there's always going to be good options out there for good solid assets to hang on to. I think I was maybe a bit impatient and wanting to skip the whole low-hanging fruit bit and just jump straight in at the deep end. It's that whole like fly and then build wings. I'm confident enough that I'm not really a worrier. I'm always confident that things will go in our favour, and if they don't, I'm confident enough that myself and my brother and the people around us are able and willing to fix it.
You'll figure it out. Yeah.
Nah, what age are you again?
Just turned 32.
Aye, so still plenty of time. You've not got any kids, have you?
No, not yet.
Aye, so you can just shoot
but
for the moon,
like I said, things will change. I still have it in the back of my mind. I'd love to own a gym. I know there's certain tax reliefs in commercials, so that's something that appeals to me. I just don't know enough about it yet. My girlfriend Kim, who's from Somerset, her parents have got a big farm and have planning permission to build like a glamping site. So I'm kind of digging a few elbows in, dropping a few hints that maybe we should go down that route. But we'll see.
The only thing about I've looked at that before, like holiday, like chalet parks and stuff like that, and glamping sites and stuff like that. Because I think it's pretty straightforward to get the planning for the glamping and all that, and you just need to find the land. But the problem with that is, for me, is that, you know, when you've got bricks and mortar, it's an asset, isn't it? Whereas the glamping, it's quite a big. If you're putting out, I don't know how much they cost to build or to import or make, but there's all that money put out, and then it's a depreciating. It's depreciating, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
It's cash flow.
Good point.
Yeah. So you've got that money. That you know, how long till you actually get the return
back on it? Yeah.
And you can't leverage them. You can't mortgage them. You might be able to take the loan, because obviously you can loan against on a business or something.
That's an interesting point. It'd be good to get if the masses did that.
We should try and get somebody on for glamping.
That was interesting, the question you asked as well, though, because I was surprised listening to the numbers on the Royal Mile one to go. The goal ultimately is to build a buy-to-let portfolio, which we always say properties looked at from a long-term perspective. So yes, these strategies can be really, really good. And we've had Matt Morrison on today talking about this money you can make from sourcing, and you guys saying about the money you make from, you know, service accommodation and rent to rent. These are low-hanging fruits as well, but ultimately the assets might not pay short-term that good money. But it's interesting to know that you're looking at that from the long-term point of view, going, yep, I can bank cash in these strategies, but put them into assets as well. So that's quite cool.
Has that ever taken your fancy, doing sourcing? Or
I'd read a couple of books about it, and then it's not something I would rule out, but I think it requires a lot of time and energy, certainly to start with, until you build that reputation. There's a lot of guys out there doing a very good job doing it as well. So yeah, it's maybe something that I'll do, but not at the moment. Not while I'm working full time and trying to have a social life and a relationship and things like that. So I'll maybe revisit it. But I get excited by the property stuff. I'm not one for watching TV. I'll sit and scroll Rightmove instead, or listen to podcasts, watch videos, read books. So my brother and I recently, he put me onto it. I listened to it on Audible, Grant Cardone's 10x rule.
Right, okay.
So we've got a bit of back and forth every day. It's like, what are you 10x in today? And it works. It really does. Yeah. It's just whatever you're doing, you can always be doing more. And again, people put obstacles in their own way. I'm very much, if you want something,
you'll do it.
Go and fucking get it. Like, there's going to be obstacles, and I would probably relate that to like people who've come into my personal training business. It's always, but so-and-so wants to get a takeaway, or the weather's crap, and it's like, bullshit. If you want it bad enough, like, go and get it.
Who are you listening to these days, guys, in terms of, obviously, Grant Cardone, he's been about for years. You know what I mean? Is there any new ones on the scene, or is he pretty much taking over is he still dominating the space? I'm
not too sure. I'm not sure the pronunciations. Alex Hormozy.
Hormozy,
aye. I've not really.
I read his book.
Yeah, I've heard only good things about him, but I haven't kind of dabbled in it.
It's just not caught my attention. And obviously, usual kind of diary of CEO Stephen Bartlett and all that. But I'm getting a bit kind of fed up of him as well. But you know. Probably people would be saying that about us now after 4 years.
The numbers are dropping like
I don't know who else.
There's loads of good books out there. again, people have maybe got certain opinions of Robert Kiyosaki, but my opinion is you can't read something like that and not feel fired up. There's other ones. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is a great read. Quite kind of Shakespearean, like grammar and punctuation, so it can be quite intense, but it's good. For people that maybe don't like reading so much, The Richest Man in Babylon is a great one. It's only a couple of 100 pages, and it's just that message of every time you get paid, stick some away or invest it, like pay yourself. So these things work. I think it's...
I know you listen to the podcast quite a lot because and thank you, by the way, because you're a good supporter of the podcast.
You're welcome.
You're always putting out the screenshots, tagging us and all that, so really appreciate it. But what speed do you listen to our podcast at? Because I'm trying at 1.5, but Stephen on 1.5, really? It's just I can't comprehend.
I've only ever listened to it on, well, speed 1.
Just normal?
Yeah.
All right. Because I think most people listen to it on fast speeds, but
no, you couldn't.
No?
I feel like I wouldn't digest it as well if it was going any faster.
Most of my stuff, even YouTube now, I listen at 1.5 just to rattle through it.
Just as much as you can, mate.
Just get that
head
packed with
10x,
information. But yeah, Stephen on 1.5, it's just like, can hardly understand him at best.
I'll try it and see what I think. But
give me that feedback.
I still get him on the phone and I'm like, what was that, mate? Like, I don't know about you, but sometimes five.
But I will dig him up for his texting back, and I know you have recently as well.
Oh yes,
let's be two business days.
Seeing as we've got him here on the ropes, mate.
2 business days are pretty good, actually.
I mean, you paid fucking £75 a month. You can at least get a reply to your text. Do you know what I mean? For your mastermind.
It's only when he's busting my ass or being my personal trainer. I'm like, I'll get a reply for a couple of days.
Oh yeah, right.
I'm busy.
As I noticed that recently, you guys were doing a bit of training. Is that
so I've been kind of
40.
I've been through to Bannintyn's a couple of times where Stephen stays, and I had him through at David Lloyd a couple of weeks ago.
Aye, it's good.
So, aye. It's good, yeah.
You'll end up looking like Samuel Leedson.
That chubby little thing.
No, see, to be fair,
direction,
I spotted his videos the other day on YouTube, and I was like, I'm sure he used to be quite overweight, and he's actually looking really good. So
he's already knocked out Rob Moore, wasn't it?
Aye, he's obviously got himself a personal trainer as well. So, aye.
Nice one, mate. Enjoy the chat. Thanks so much for coming on. It's
great to have you on, mate. Really good to see you in the flesh. Nice one.
Good to get your story as well. And where can listeners reach out to you guys? And
I do have Facebook and LinkedIn, but I'm not really active on them. So Instagram's the main one. It's Cameron Colquhoun. Colquhoun has got a silent Q in it. I'm sure you'll put it in notes. But Cameron, C-A-M-M-Y. Colquhoun is C-O-L-Q-U-H-O-U-N.
Nice
right,
one.
Thank you very much.
Often mispronounced.
Cheers.
No, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant.